So, love heals. That's the subject. I mean, I have a few questions to answer here, so I'll go and do that. But what I will tell you is in the 20 years when I've been working with people, and even before then, I think even before I got to yoga, one big lesson that I learned is love heals me. And when I am full of love for myself and for everybody, there is an energy flow that is very different from what most of us humans call just love, conditional love. Most love is conditional. I love you, you love me back. It's a business. And that kind of love does not give you the kind of bliss that you get when you love something unconditionally. That's why so many people who work with animals say the animal's love is unconditional. I can scream at my dog or my cat and I can say whatever I want and they're still wagging the tail. I didn't know that till I got mine. They love you unconditionally. And this is what we crave as human beings because this is who we are. And I'd just like to read to you something from the Upanishads. The Upanishads is one of the oldest scriptures. It actually means up by the feet of the master. Because all the spiritual knowledge in the olden days, and I think it still continues, is when people would sit. Why do they say at the feet? Only because the sense of humility. The humility, when you sit down at the feet, it's like you're ready to learn. You want to receive. And spiritual knowledge, really, you can read 1,000 books and not get it. Spiritual knowledge is through energy. It's through a force that you can't explain to anyone, just like love is. You know, how much do you love me? We can ask, but we can never measure it, can we? We just know it's so much. You just know when it's so much. And you just know when it's so little. And the experience of this unconditional spiritual love, or this experience of the connection with the higher self, or what we call God or Jesus, like I said, words don't really matter, or universe, or some people even nothing. When there's this love to one's fellow man, this love to just serve each other and everything on this earth, this kind of feeling is magnetic. It holds in it something so powerful and so healing. Like I said, I learned this at a very early age from my father, who I really see now much more every single day as an example of unconditional love. He was the eldest of 8 children. And he started working because they lost all their money during the First World War. And he started working as a tailor at the age of 12. And he said at the end of, he used to sew till 3 o'clock at night and bring home to his mom, you know, a bar of chocolate, which they will all split. And then he said that later on when he was older, he realized his second brother, Dada Harry, who's the one who built this hall, was born with super intelligence. And he did everything in his power to make sure that his second brother got the best education. And the rest of the brothers too. So between the charm of my father and the love he showed all, so what happened? His business soon grew. They used to, you know, sew, and then they used to have little like Petticoat Lane or the markets, like souvenir markets. And that's how they started, the brothers. And all the brothers worked together on the weekend to help their dad. And then they went through the Second World War, where my grandfather was beaten up because he was so smart he could speak 16 languages. So the Japanese thought he was really smart. And the Japanese thought that he was spying for all the governments. So they beat him up and he lost his spirit after that. And my uncle got shot in the war as well. And they lived all through that. And what kept them together, and our family still speaks of it in Hong Kong, my family, what's left of the brothers that are still alive, they still live under one roof. They still live, and they still share one business. Not so sure about the next generation. But what's happened is there is such an energy at home. and there is such a love between them. They might all fight and argue, but if one person is ill in the hospital, the whole family will go there. There is such a deep spiritual love, and it's always service first. And I have seen throughout my life that this heals people. This heals people. That's what people are lacking. And from my work in the early days, I always wondered what heals. We talk about God, and somebody asked Gurudev now about prayer. Yes, of course, prayer helps. But beyond that is for people to know that they're looked after and loved. That there is this love. And this experience of unconditional love, where it's so selfless, is so hard to find in our world today. This is why the world is so unhealthy. And this is why at this moment, where all the spiritual people have been reborn, I am so convinced of that, reborn, come back, taken a lot of suffering, to not because they want to suffer, but because they need to have compassion for those who are suffering. Because if you don't, you won't have compassion for the unhappy, would you? Somebody said to me today, who saw me, said, I'm really grateful for my pain, because it is because of the pain in my body I can empathize with somebody else's pain. In fact, she came from this group, and she was sitting next to you, Monica, a few weeks ago when you came back after your mother died, and she mentioned how much she felt your pain. And I bet you didn't even know that. And then she went home and prayed for you because your pain was so deep. So, isn't it wonderful? And she said something in her just welled up, and she felt she had to. Without saying even a word, she just felt this pain. And she said, I'll never forget that pain. And this is what makes us human, and this is what makes us live, and this is what makes us want to serve each other and want to continue. But going back to that feeling of knowing God or yoga, this union, this yoke, we cannot describe this ever. And this is why even the Upanishads say words cannot do it. And this is why it is the energy that you feel in the room. Really, my words don't mean anything. You all know it already. You're all very smart. So why do we sit together? Because we recognize this energy, this flow of love. And that's us, because we recognize it. There's something in us that just knows it. And we need to be in touch with it to heal, to get strong. Because we've lost touch. And like Gurudev said earlier on, it's when we do, or when others do to us, whichever way, a lot of wrong actions, after a while we become so hard, we become so cold, we become so distrustful, that when you become all those things, you cannot enjoy that unconditional love. You cannot experience what we call God. There is no yoga to the higher self. You can think it, I can think of my higher self, but it's no point thinking, it's thoughts, right? It's the feeling, that experience of that higher love. And this is why they say when you understand it, you are in Sat Chit Ananda. You're in truth, you're in knowledge or consciousness, you're conscious all the time, and you're in bliss. So this is the love that heals. And children know it, and parents know it. It's very simple to see, again, talking about illness as a child. I could be wheezing and can't get a breath, and you didn't have a mother like mine. So my mother would walk in the room, and already I'm 50% better. Any of you know that feeling? You've been ill? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you just walk in the room. Oh, Mom, you're home. No, you're better. You're just better. Best doctor in the world. Better than any other doctor. Just seeing your mother's face when you're ill. And now I see my grandchildren, no matter how much they adore me, when they're ill, they need Mom. Mom is the one. And I always tell my daughter, remember, you're the child's first guru, because your love is unconditional and children can feel it. What happens when they grow up? We become conditional. They're no longer the cute little babies or cute little children. Then egos take over. I'm right, you're right, my power, your power, and domination, ownership, you're my child. What happened to that unconditional love? You're sick, I'm there. It changes as we get older, which is really sad, because if we could continue that unconditional love throughout our life, a lot of healing would happen without doctors. A lot of healing would happen without psychologists. It would just happen by itself, because that's what we all need. That, I know you're here, I'm safe, I feel safe. So I'll read to you something from the Upanishads, what they consider is the Lord of Love, and how to get there. And this God, as I keep saying, I love the way it's described. When I came upon this text of the Upanishads, I said, this is how God is to me, the Lord of Love. And I can only feel it in my heart. Nobody can feel it for me. So I need to surround myself with love. I need to surround myself, first of all, by being loving myself. Because like attracts. If I'm not loving, I will not attract love. Will you attract love? You won't. My father was a great tool of love. He attracted love wherever he went. Wherever he went. He walked into any restaurant, we would get the best service. Not because he was wealthy later on, but because they just loved him. Because he would talk to the waiters, and he would talk to everybody, and he would thank you for the food. He'd go to the kitchen and see the chef. How many people even think that? Oh, I'm paying for my food. I deserve this. Do you see? There's this arrogance. So this is the kind of the more you give, this is what they talk about giving. This is the kind of giving we mean, giving love, and you will receive it back. So don't expect love if you are not giving it. Can you understand that? You know, so many people, one of my students came to me a few months ago, very upset with the whole yoga center. And I go, why are you so upset with everyone? What did they do to you? Oh, you know, Nalanie, when my mother died, only you called, only you cared. And I said, that's not true. I know Shanti also called. Yeah, but there was only 2 of you. And then that's not true. I know somebody else who, was worried. It's like that. When people die, people don't know what to say. Don't judge them. Oh no, they were horrible. And then I turned around and I said to her, oh, did you know that this one lost a sister to cancer? Christine lost her sister to cancer. Did you know that that one had this problem? Did you know that that one had gone through this? And do you know that that had gone... And she looked at me. I said, did you call any of them? She hadn't called. I said, at least you got 3 calls. You didn't call one of your fellow sisters at Sangha to say, do you need anything? And yet you expect it. You isolate yourself and you think everybody should call you. Why? Who do you think you are? What have you learned from me? Nothing. Oh, I read a lot of yoga books, big deal. Who can't do that? Anybody can read. Do you see what I'm saying? If you want love in life, you got to give it. Simple. As you sow, you reap. But if you ask, and be careful, I want, but you don't give, oh my God, you suffer for the rest of your life. So, here he says, this is the highest form of love, to understand this Lord of Love. The Lord of Love is the one self of all. The one self of all. He is detached work. So work that you don't believe belong knows. If detached work means you work for the sake of it. For the sake of it. Somebody's working through me. Something is working through me. Don't get attached to everything you do. Oh, I did this, because that creates an arrogance. That creates a feeling of ownership. All right? The moment you want to own something, guess what happens? It wants to run away. So, detached work. Oh, look at them, they raised the money, they didn't even expect a thank you. Carrie did the same. Oh, Nalanie, I'm so glad you came. Everything was done so perfectly. I was so impressed. But it was like no attachment, no cry for attention, nothing, just it's to raise money. And it was really nice to see that kind of service being done. Spiritual wisdom and immortality. Realize the self hidden in the heart and cut asunder the knot of ignorance here and now. Realize the self hidden in the heart. So where is it hidden? Where is it hidden? Where is this Lord of Love hidden? Where is it hidden?
In the heart.
Yes, are you hearing it? Please listen to it. If you're feeling no love in your heart and you're feeling pain, you are far. That's why Sri Patanjali tells us, which you'll learn in January when you do the course, for those who've already done it. That's why he tells us. Who can tell us? What does he tell us? He tells us about non-attachment, and he tells us about looking for the light within. And he tells us, by the practice of pranayama, the veil over the inner light is destroyed. So there's a veil over our inner light. And this is how we need to observe ourselves all the time. Am I seeing this light within me? Am I feeling this light within me? Where is the Lord of Love? And here it tells us, realize the self hidden in the heart and cut asunder the knot of ignorance here and now. And this is why it's so important to live in this love. Bright but hidden, the self dwells in the heart. Bright but hidden. That's why when you're in love, you shine bright. Shine bright like a diamond. Is that Rihanna, is it? I'm learning from my granddaughter. It's a great song, right? It is. I love it too. And that's exactly what it's saying. Shine bright like a diamond. Bright but hidden. Why is it hidden? Because we have so much ego. We're so frightened to be who we are. We're so frightened to be who we are. The self dwells in the heart. Everything that moves, breathes, opens, and closes lives in the self. He is the source of love and may be known through love, but not through thought. I'm not saying this. This is a scripture that I don't know how many thousand years old, from the beginning of time. And may be known through love, but not through thought. He is the goal of life. Attain this goal. You know, so many times people tell me, you know, when they go into relationships and things like that, they say to me, oh, but they should know that I love them. And I go, it's very easy to say you love someone, isn't it? It's very easy to say, I love you, I love you. That's easy. Thought is easy. But even, oh, but I think it. Yes, I know you think you love this person. But what do you do for this person? To show them love. It's very, I love you very much, you should know, and then sit and don't do anything for a person who can't do that. You know, I've met so many people in my life saying that. Oh, I love my wife so much. Oh, yes, I know. What do you do for her? Do you do anything for her? Oh, I buy her handbags. No, I'm not talking about buying her handbags or shoes. What do you do for her? What do you do to make her smile? What do you do to make her happy? What do you do to make her laugh? What do you do to make her shine her day? Do you tell her she's beautiful? Do you tell her you love her? You can think it, but what's the point of thinking you love someone and not do anything about it? And vice versa for women. I tell them the same. Oh, they should know I love them. I do all the cooking for them, and I do all this for them, or whatever you do for them. And I go, yeah, but do you show it? Is it in your voice? Is it in your food when you cook? Is it done with joy? Is it done with laughter? Very easy to say I'm doing it because it's in a thought. But are you living it? Do you see the difference? It's very easy for people to say, I love you. But no love through actions. Real love is through your actions. Your actions, you know, like you've done for all these strangers. The same love you show towards these strangers that you spend a whole 2 weeks working for, that you spend every weekend working for all of you. Strangers, show to your own family that same love. It's harder when it's 24 hours. It's very easy when it's far away. And live. You have to awaken this inspiration in you. Make yourself fall in love. And here they'll tell you the technique in a while, how to do this. The shining self dwells hidden in the heart. Everything in the cosmos, great and small, lives in the self. He is the source of life, truth beyond the transience of this world. He is the goal of life. Attain this goal. Take, and this is how you attain it, take the great bow of the sacred scriptures. So imagine this bow. Sacred scriptures. Place it on an arrow of devotion. Place it on an arrow of devotion. Then draw the bowstring of meditation, using the bowstring of meditation. Aim at the target. Aim at the target. What's your target? The Lord of Love. The mantra, your mantra, is the one, is the bow. The aspirant, you, the love arrow, is the arrow. The aspirant is the arrow. And the Lord, the target. Now draw the bowstring of meditation, and hitting the target, be one with Him. So you can imagine, learn from the sacred scriptures. Put yourself as the arrow. Aim for the Lord of Love, or God, whatever you want to call it. If you aim there, when you hit the target, you won the game, haven't you? You've understood everybody. If you understand the one truth, you understand it all. And that's why it says, on the highest level of love, search for the highest, what we call God, or what we call, for me, Lord of Love is a beautiful word. Aim for the highest. And how do you do it? You tell me. How do you do it? You really need to know this and inspire yourself. From where? From where? Yes, correct. Absolutely correct. Be so convinced. Where do you do it from? Say it loud and clear. Absolutely. And make it really clear, because if you aim that arrow and you know where it's coming from here, and the target is, it sounds like it's there, but it's really here coming back to here. So it's from here. Be really clear, because if you're, as you think, that's right, and as you feel, you will experience. So you need to be really clear that it comes from your heart. Otherwise, every time you get into a problem and you're unhappy, you think you have to go outside to find the healing. But really the healing comes from within you. Start to really see that. Yes, people can help you temporarily, but the real healing comes from the love in you. How do you heal yourself? Start loving the world again. That's the best healing and medicine you can give yourself. Start to love the world again. When you go through so much pain, start to make yourself fall in love with the world again. It's the only way out. And by doing that, you open the Lord of Love. You invite that energy that is everywhere in the cosmos to enter your system. And your blood cells will love it, and your water cells will love it, because we know from, what's the name of the Japanese guy who discovered the water?
Emoto Masuro.
Thank you, Emoto Masuro. With all the experiments that he did with water, that the more you praise water and the more you love it, what happens? You get perfect molecules, right? And the more you insult it and horrible to that water, the molecules just dissipate. What do you think is in our body? 75% to 80% water. So if you are in pain, what are you doing to you? Correct. You're contaminating the water in your body. That's why they say, people who are not positive become sick. That's why, because we're doing it to ourselves. So the first thing you need to do is heal yourself. I said, I don't want to develop cancer, I don't want to develop this. So you start to awaken that love in your heart. Start to fall in love with life. So what would you do? Okay, we're a small group of people. If you're really going through a bad time and you're really suffering and you've gone to your friends and everybody's helped you as much as they could, what would you do after I read this passage? How would you help yourself? Given up on the world, nobody can help you. What would you do? Anybody, guess. It doesn't have to be right or wrong.
To appreciate.
Thank you. So as personal, in your case, which you went through, and I saw you in your very dark period,
Yeah.
and I've seen you in your very dark, what did you do the very next day to lighten yourself up?
I just looked for anything to appreciate and it made me feel better.
Yeah, so that's what you do. See, this is the spiritual practice. People make it sound so fancy. You know, somebody was talking to me the other day, she was in such a dark place. And everybody was trying, all the people, spiritual people she was meeting was saying, oh, get yourself enlightened. As if it's that easy to get enlightened. Oh, you just practice yoga and you can enlighten yourself. I said, well, you know, it took me 10 years to forgive. I mean, I forgave immediately, but 10 years for the person who hurt me to really have forgiven because to really have that feeling, and there's nothing there, there's zero anger. 10 years. I said, you think it's that easy? Does Sri Patanjali tell you for a long time without a break and with all your heart? All your heart, with all earnestness. So the real spiritual practice is not in the complicated, I want enlightenment. It's in what you do every day with love. You start to inspire yourself. What else would you do? Anybody? Meditate. Yes, correct. Yes, correct.
Or watch comedy, like Nelly always says.
Or watch comedy.
Or call a
yes.
friend who makes you laugh. Quoting Nelly.
Yeah. What else would you
Go
do?
for a walk.
Yes. See that?
Nature. Take a bath.
Wow, water. Yeah. Yes.
That's what I've been doing now.
Taking a bath. Wonderful.
No,
Walking in nature.
Just on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Do all these things. Then just do them and say, if I want to be well, I've got to recreate this love in my heart. Nature, for many people, is God. Well, the American Indians prayed to nature all the time. When they didn't have rain, they pray. And it would rain. Haven't you seen it works? It's just energy. It's just, there are molecules when you're in love. People tell me, oh, you have a direct line to God. I said, no, I'm just so in love with God. So God loves me so much because I love God so much. And where's God to me? In all of you too. The difference is you don't recognize God in you, but I do. I really do. I see you with that light within. People tell me all their problems when they come and see me. I'm so bad, I did this. It's a lot of nonsense. That's human stuff. We're human. Drop that nonsense. You're diamonds inside. I'm not saying it. I'm not making it up. Look at this text. Look at the Gita. Look at any scripture you want. I'm not making... They keep telling us. There's a diamond in you. It's just you fail to believe in it. You think somebody else can give you this diamond? You already got it. There's nowhere to go. You can go to 1,000 people. People have come to me and I've told them, look within. They'll spend thousands on healers, thousands and thousands, and they make a big circle like The Alchemist. And find, have you read the book The Alchemist?
Yeah.
It's a great book. If you haven't, do read it. And find that it's right here. It's right here. It's right here. You couldn't be loved more this moment. You couldn't be loved more this moment. All you have to do is know it. The greatest spiritual practice, I tell you, is when I would say, God, I love you so much. And I would hear it back at me. Oh, Nalanie, I love you so much. I tell you, I heard it, and I hear it all the time. I hear it when I'm cooking. I love you so much. And I wear a smile. Well, who's telling me this, And if I can hear it, all of you can hear it. Yes, you want love from a human being. That's a little bit more difficult. Unconditional love. It's a little bit more difficult. But if you have that love, the highest love that heals, then you know you can work your way through the others. You will say, well, they have the diamond inside, but at the moment they just don't see it. They don't see it. That's why they're behaving this way. This is why they're becoming so horrible. It's not because they are horrible. And this is why I've seen in many, many relationships, even though things are so hard, if they can stick and see the diamond in each other, which people don't do, then it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. This is why Gurudev always said, you know, and I tell all my new students who are not into relationships yet, you know, please, if you look for someone, see that inner diamond, but know that there are many flaws to a human personality. There are flaws. We all have flaws. None of us are born without one. We all have flaws. Even great masters had flaws, human flaws. But the diamond is in everyone. And if you can see that, then you can forgive anything in life. You really can. And that's why so many people, they say, I can't help it, I love this person so much, I never does that. Because you can see that diamond within, and one day you will wake that diamond up. But how to wake that diamond up? Sometimes you have to walk away from it first to wake them up. Sometimes it's not being with them. Sometimes you have to walk away. Sometimes you just have to pour so much love into them that they just, you know, they will awaken that way. We don't know. But if you go for the highest love, then you are strong to face the fickleness of human love. You can face that, because that is very fickle. One day people love you, next day they don't. That will always be like that. This is the way of the world. Don't blame anyone. It's life. It's life. And when you walk away, you start again. You never give up on the love within you. Got it? Never, never, never give up on that love within you. Because then you don't never get to God. You will never get to that energy of the cells that heals the cells, that heals the water. Remember that when next time you're sad, say, my cells are not going to like this. My cells are not going to like this. I'm going to try and get happy quick. And you make yourself laugh. Make yourself laugh and cry. When my husband passed away, I used to make myself cry and laugh at the same time. You know, all the time. Because they're so close. Just love and hate are so close. When you love someone, what do? Think about them all the time. When you hate someone, what do? You think about them all the time. So this is the highest form of love. And now let me go to answer your question. Because if you can just hold on to that image of the highest form of love, and it's not selfish, because if you see the diamond in you, you really start to recognize the diamond in everyone. Really quickly, you really do. And you really see like 2 layers in every person. And you know that with love, if you just shower them with love, in time they will open. Just that is how love heals. But you cannot heal them unless you feel that love, alright? Yes?
You don't always have to bother to shower someone with love. When there's so many other people who are worth your love.
Everybody is worth your love, but not everybody is able to receive it. So if they are not able to receive your love, don't bother to waste your time and energy. That's wasting your life. But everybody deserves your love, everybody. And those that can't receive it, walk away. They can't, they don't know how to. There's something in them that's not ready yet. Give them time. Just let it go. Detached work. Did I answer your question?
No.
Okay.
Nalanie, is it not also when, you know, if somebody doesn't love themselves, it's very difficult, doesn't matter how much love you give to them, if they don't love themselves, they're not
able to receive
they're
it.
not even ready to receive it. So you, no matter what you do,
Nothing
until
works.
until they start to realise that they need to change, really.
Yeah, and this is why once I realized that when my master Gurudev came to, one time I was saying to Gurudev on my way to Malaga airport, I think I've told this story many times, oh Gurudev, I was helping this one, and I was helping that one, because I was early in my practice and I thought Nalanie could help people. You know, how you develop an ego without even thinking it. You know, I didn't even know. I'm very grateful for my master. And as I get to the airport and he's about to check in to immigrate, and he turns around and says, you can help no one, help yourself. Literally. And what? You know? And he's been so loving to me the whole trip. And he walks away, and that's what Sri Swami Sotogrande. I cried all the way home from Malaga to Gibraltar. I used to live in Gibraltar in those days. All the way home. My husband thought, I don't like this spiritual practice, it really makes my wife crazy. But that was the lesson I learned. It's true. The lesson I learned was some people are just not ready for love, and I don't do the healing. You know, it was a mistake thinking I do the healing. All I can do is love from my heart. And if I love completely from my heart, and I realized at that stage I hadn't loved myself completely, because I would never consider myself as needing some time for me or saying no to people. I never considered myself that way. So as a result, it was like a conditional love based on my own ego. So that lesson I learned is, okay, can I help anyone? I better get to learn who I am and what I am really, and why am I doing this work, and for what reason? Is it to build up my ego, or is it because I really have unconditional love? And that was a long journey on its own. So yes, absolutely. We cannot help anyone unless we help ourselves, first and foremost. And if we do that for ourselves, we have to understand them as well. And so many times my students will say, Nalanie, I'd like to send this person to see you. And I said, please don't if they're not ready. Don't do it. It's cruel to them. They're not ready. I'm too much for them. I'm teaching them about unconditional love when they're not even willing to look at themselves. When they're ready, they will come. But they have to say, I want to. And that's already a start. The moment they say they want help, run. Give them all the help, because you know it's like that little glimmer, the little light turning on. Take advantage of it. If you don't get there in time, it closes very quickly. Yes, it does. The human mind is so powerful. So while you have a light, you know, and this is why sometimes I just know I have to see a certain person at this time now, because I know if I don't, tomorrow, 24 hours later, it's not going to work. Because we have these shutters, you know. So it's something you learn to feel. You learn to feel energies. And that's what I want all my students to feel. I want you to start to feel people. Start to be aware of their energies. That's why I love in the Hatha Yoga classes to get you to feel your body and what's hurting, what's not, and then go inside, as some of you know, and go within. Because when you start to understand what you are feeling outside, which is your temple, then you start to go more deep within and you start understanding what's going on inside you. So it's really important to, and then there's an awareness, because there is a silence, there is an awareness. You're awake. You're awake. You need to be aware. And when you're aware, I tell you, you can smell things. You can smell lies. Sarah, you can't do like me, right? She does it too. I'm not the only one that can do it. Somebody lies to me, I can smell it in the room. It has smell. And somebody who's sick and don't even know they're sick, I can smell that too. And I know it from my own body too. Immediately, there's something happening there because of the smell. It's really interesting. We develop all these things when we just fill our time with love. And because you see, you're more in like the energy rather than the thought pattern. You're not judging anybody, so the mind is quite quiet. The mind is quite quiet when you're not judging anybody. So what you got left is what's there. So your senses become very intense. It's just like a blind person can touch and understand and hear from a distance, you know, because they've lost this sense, they've got all the others. But in this case, when you become really aware and you're not judging, there's not so many things in your mind, then all your senses become very sharp. That's all it is.
Can I just ask this question? If you are a natural empath and you do feel what other people feel,
Yes,
sometimes you can absorb what you don't want to absorb.
correct.
If they are stressed or you want to help them, but sometimes the stress, you're all right, but then you start absorbing their stress as well.
Correct.
Understand what I mean? So how do you protect yourself so you can help them?
Yeah, one thing is make sure that when you do a lot of this kind of work with people who are very heavy in energy, is that you get rest time after the end of the day. For me, first I tell you physically, and then I'll tell you emotionally, spiritually. You make sure you must rest and go to bed early on those days that you have a lot of energy. 2, you take a nice bath. Take a nice long bath and clear, or shower, you know, and clear up all the energy. The very nice things you can use now is lavender oils that you go to an expert and find out which oil, you know, or just go to a health store and do this and it'll call you. That's good for you. Take a nice long bath physically and then keep your mind light. Read some highly elevating books, just even one page that elevates, that brings that energy of love back to you. That energy of love will revive your tiredness. Then you do a deep relaxation. You lie down, do even 10 minutes. Do a deep relaxation. That you do for your body. For your soul, you do a lot of mantra chanting. Inside you all the time, you create for example, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and it creates like a force field because it's sound, right? Sound has waves, right? How do you get music, right? We could put on the TV here, but where is it coming through, right? The satellite, through the waves. So sound has a lot of vibration. So the mantric sounds, didn't you hear what he said? Use the bow of mantra, right? So, use any mantra. So use the mantra and keep repeating the mantra. Mantra is very powerful practice. Very powerful practice. I constantly, if I'm talking to you now, there's a mantra going on in me. My initiation mantra, which I got so many years ago, but I really practice. That if I get up in the middle of the night, that's what I hear. It's by itself automatic. So it creates a force field around you. It's like a force field around you. You actually feel it. And when you meditate a lot and you do a lot of mantras, you feel it, especially around this area, like you're protected. So yeah, I use the mantra a lot. And also, if I feel somebody is very, very negative and their energy is, you have to clear the room after they go. And this is where you use things like you make your own holy water. I teach people to make holy water. All you do is, in your meditation, you put it in a nice crystal. It should be nice crystal. And then you put some holy water. You say some lovely prayers over it. Wish it all well. And then you just sprinkle it. It's an Indian prayer, it's part of our prayer ceremony. After we do a prayer ceremony, we sprinkle the whole house with water. So you just sprinkle the house with water, and the negative energy will go. And you bless the house. It's very important to do so, especially in the early years of your practice serving people. As you get stronger over the years, you don't even need that. You already feel protected. In fact, the more you serve, the more energy you get. It's like a turbo. Your immune system is strong, so keep the immune system strong. Do exercise. In my early days, I made a lot of mistakes by not doing enough exercise. Because I used to be a dancer, and then I stopped all my dancing, and I started doing the work, and of course consultation, yoga, it's a lot of sitting. So my body was keeping a lot of toxins, and I made that mistake. Don't make that mistake. When you see people walking in nature, it's very important. So I hope I've answered your question. It's a very good question and very important. Very important. Look after yourself, and then you can serve more. And then later on, it's just like a turbo engine. You don't even need to rest anymore. You know, they really don't. In fact, they inspire you. When you see people leave happy, you get like, oof, a rush of energy. But it happens in stages, huh? So, good on you, very good question. How can you make sure to stay in a loving state? We can never make sure of anything. All I know is that just keep doing these practices, and one day, every day you spend more and more hours in a loving state. As you progress, every day becomes different. And then all of a sudden, you see one day where you feel in love all the time, and then 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and after 15 years, every day. And then after 20 years, I'm just telling you, I can only teach you what has happened to me. I cannot teach you of anything else, because that would be a lie. When I went through the most extreme, painful period of my life, I just still could love everyone, which for me was really odd. I was in so much pain, but yet I was in so much love. I could step outside of myself, which is the gift you get from the practice of meditation and Sri Patanjali. Non-violence, non-stealing, speaking the truth always. That's the gift you get when you do this for a long time. You suddenly wake up and you realize you're just in love with the good and the bad. And then you just say, it's all for good. Our master used to say, it's all his deed. It's all his name. It's all his form. And it's all for good. And that's how you start to feel. And when you feel it's all for good, then you just wake up in a loving state, because you really see that everything is for good. And let me tell you a story that Gurudev tells to explain this. The story goes like this. There was a king who had a minister. And the minister just loved the king, and the king loved the minister. And they were always together. And one day the king was, peeling some fruit and accidentally really cut his hand badly. And called the doctors, everybody was looking after him and said, oh, I don't know why this happened to me. And the minister said, oh dear king, it's all for the good. And he goes, what? You're my loving minister, and how can you say this is for the good? So, you're no good to be my minister. And he put him in jail. So the next day, the king had to go riding with a whole group of people. So the king loved to ride, and normally the minister will always be behind him. And the king saw a deer, and he fell in love with the deer, so he was chasing that deer. But the deer went deep into the forest, and all his party, he lost them. He got lost. So he sat down and goes, oh my God, I'm really lost and I'm exhausted. It's getting dark. I'm so tired. So he got off the horse and lay down by the tree. And as he was laying down by the tree, he fell asleep. Suddenly he heard a noise and he woke up. And he saw this lion smelling him. And he got really, I'm dying, I'm going to die. And suddenly the lion smelled his hand and went away. He thought a miracle. So he got his horse and ran back to start screaming for his people. And his people came and said, King, King, you were lost. He said, it's a miracle. The lion was just next to me and suddenly he smelled my finger and he went away. Oh, it's truly a miracle, King. It's truly a miracle. So he goes back. He says his minister always explained everything. Gets the minister out of jail. And he said, Minister, I want to know. You say it's for the good of all. What happened? Why did the lion leave me alone? Oh, King, you are the king of all men. The lion is the king of all the forest. The king of the forest didn't want damaged goods. It wanted perfect goods. So you see, that cut was for the good of all. And Minister, what about you? You were put into jail. That wasn't good. Oh, he said, absolutely it was. Because guess what? I would have been with you. And the lion may have not eaten you, but the lion would have definitely eaten me. So thank you for putting me in jail. And then the king understood it really is all for good. And if you can see that in your life, and spiritual people, normally when they start, they'll see, well, didn't you, when you first started, you're like, one bad thing happened to you after another. Do you remember? Oh, he's forgotten already, but I remember. He lost his home, he lost his money. I remember so many things. And I was saying, like, God, please look after these people. I don't know why all this is happening to them. But after a period, the first 2 years were a struggle looking for reasons, etc. By itself, with their own practice, Ola used to write to me emails saying, Nalanie, please, can I promise you that I'll meditate every day? Because if I promise you, I'll keep it. And he did this for many years. Every month he'd say, I meditated this month or this day. And he did this practice for a long time. Till one day, I saw they still didn't have much. They still had their struggles. But there was no more that feeling of, anguish. There was no more of that. By itself, they lifted off the ground by their own practices. Their own practices got them there. And today, look what they're doing with their lives. I heard Kamala ran a wonderful workshop last weekend. Everybody enjoyed her workshop. Do you see that? Your own practices give you the strength. So it just takes time. And by itself, things start to happen. And then when you come to that stage, and even when bad things happen to them after the first 4 or 5 years, it's no longer bad. It's just, part of life. You grow up, it's an obstacle, you grow up and you get over it. Full stop. Full stop. And Tim, how you handled your son, and everything you did for your children, your son, how you've lifted him by lifting yourself up. And Tim went through a very bad time as well. But his practice, his meditation, his hard work, very quickly, within 2 years, he's got a lot of signs. Why? Because of the keen and intent practitioner, Sri Patanjali tells us, this samadhi comes quickly. This peace comes quickly. But he was already meant for this path because he told me when he was in his 20s, he was already doing Buddhist meditation. Do you see? So problems had to come to him to come back. Because we forget. We get married, we have families, until everything goes wrong. We forget there is a God. We forget there is something greater. We forget there is spirit. We think we're going to live here forever. And then bang, pain, 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 pain. And then what happens? You go, oh, I don't know. You know what? I'm fed up with the world. There's something bigger than this. And then you remember your roots. And then you remember the divine. And then you're reminded of your roots. So, in the end, you have to ask yourself, after all that is always saying, it really was all for the good. If this didn't happen, and that didn't happen, and that didn't happen, and this didn't happen, I wouldn't be here today with this understanding, with this depth, with this empathy, with this compassion. It's only because I've done all those things that I really have grown up now spiritually. I've grown up spiritually. And that's what happens. You're just reminded. So when you can see all that, you go, it's all for good. How can you be upset when pain comes? You start laughing. You really do. It's no big deal. It's all going to be, I'll see the result of it in 2 or 3 months' time. Why this happened. And this is what I keep telling myself when something goes wrong. I will see the result of it in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I will see the result of it. I will know why this went wrong. When things go wrong, we get late here, we go, saved from an accident, I'm sure of it. We got late today. Saved from, don't worry, Shanti, saved from an, I didn't know the dark story made you like, no, blessed, we must be saved from an accident or something. It's all for good. It's always all for good. And then you just laugh. You don't worry about anything. You don't beat yourself up. I was 2 months late, I was this, I was that. No, all for the good. You do your best. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's the best. It wasn't meant to work out. And that's how you look at it. And that creates unconditional love in you. It creates that. That feeling, really for the good of all, and myself as well, creates a feeling of love in you, that you're constantly looked after, constantly. It's just like Gurudev said. And this talk, it's not that he just loves one person. This divine energy loves all, because this energy is Lord of Love, and that's how to connect. That's the secret. And you can only connect where? From where? Yeah. So go home and tell somebody you love them, your dog, or your husband, or your friend, or your whatever, or even your home. Thank you, home, for giving me shelter. Do you ever thank your home? Walls can hear. Do you know that? Also in our Hindu tradition, our family, every day they walk home, touch the floor. Thank you, God, for the home. Always respect. Because walls have ears. And I think Shirley MacLaine wrote a book about this, that it was really interesting, and it does happen, and I've noticed it after I read her book. And it was about if the people in the house were sad or unhappy, and you'd have water problems. It's interesting because the house would be crying because of the owners. It's really interesting. And then I go back and when you have things breaking down in your house, one thing after another, it's almost like you're punishing yourself all the time. You don't love yourself enough. Things start breaking down one after another. Interesting. Watch it. It's really quite cool. There's so many messages in the universe that come to us all the time.
Is this why, in terms of like Feng Shui, in terms of the energies?
Yes.
It's amazing actually, because my husband was over in Canada doing a business deal with some Chinese people, and the Chinese people brought the Feng Shui expert into all the meetings with them to see if it was positive and negative karma
Fantastic.
for all the people.
Absolutely. In Hong Kong, they will not build a building without a Feng Shui expert. My family, when they build their home, we bring in Feng Shui experts. Always. Yeah. Because they feel the energy and also the land around you. Some people intuit this as well. Some people have good intuition of Feng Shui. And if you go to your home and you see something is blocking and need to move it, that's your energy telling you, move it. I see people who tell me, oh, I need to move this from here. Move it. What's keeping you from doing it? Move it. Your soul is telling you. It's intuition telling you it's time to clear this area. This is why they say when you hoard things, it's very bad feng shui. We say feng shui in Chinese. I speak Cantonese. And they say it's negative, and hoarding is terrible. Always clear, always clear. Spring cleaning, always clean out. It's very healthy energy, very healthy energy. Don't leave things in dark corners. Even when you do, isn't it true? You leave things in attics for a very long time, etc., and you get bugs and mice and all these things, right? So even physically it's a bad energy. I go, why do you keep so much stuff? I tell people all the time, keep it away. But maybe my grandchild, my daughter, who'd want that old dirty thing anyway? Just keep it, let somebody use it. Isn't it true? People get so attached to things. Oh, I had this shoe for 20 years. Why? I might one day wear it on my wedding day. Isn't it true? Give it away. I was so proud of my daughter when she said, Mom, when she had a beautiful wedding dress, Mom, I'm never going to use it again. Can I give it? Would you mind? You spend £1,000 on it. Would you mind if I just gave it to the Filipino help you have in Hong Kong? Because she gets married, she'd love it. I would love it. I said, thank God it's your dress. I was hoping you would say something like that. Why would we store it under my bed for like 2 years? It's just gathering dust. It just got smells, and it's white. It might get yellow. Let somebody use it. And that's how you just move energy. Feng Shui is very important. And in abundance, it's a wonderful practice. Because if you move things, it moves with you, right? Get rid of the old and bring in the new. It's a feeling of abundance, no fear. No fear. Love is no fear. Love is unconditional. Love is fearless. If you know that your Father in heaven loves you so much, He'll never let you starve. So don't worry. Don't worry. It's that holding on to the fear that stops the unconditional love. It's a good point, thank you.
So why are people starving in the world then?
Why are people what?
Starving in the world then?
Why are they starving in the world?
Why are there people that are starving in the world? I mean,
We can never really always answer that question because it could be karmic. Obviously, the right reason is people are too greedy. We're not looking after enough of our world. We're so busy in ourselves that we don't take care of our world. Big corporations holding back and rather dump food into the sea or burn it than give to the poor. Because why? They want prices to stay up. So people are starving in the world because of man's greed, really. But if I look at the world over history, and I read the Mahabharata, or I read the Bhagavad Gita, or any ancient text, or the Bible, the Old Testament, it's been happening from the beginning of time. We live in a world of duality. These things will always exist. They will always be right and left, up and down, wrong or right. It's always going to happen. It's just the way it is. And our work in the spiritual field is to go beyond it, to watch it. As Lord Jesus said, be in this world, but no, you are not of this world. And the Bhagavad Gita says, to the yogi who has seen, night is day and day is night. Whereas to the others, they cannot see that. So when you have, what does that mean? It means when you have the vision that you are spirit, and you are part of that Lord of Love, when you have that one-time feeling even, that connects you, that just one time, and you have that, then you know that this world is just a university for us to realize that we're not really a part of the world, that really this world is an illusion. It is an illusion. It's all an illusion. Just as we go to bed at night and we dream and we wake up in the morning, it was all an illusion. When we die of this body, we will wake up and we will say, oh, it was all an illusion. It's the same. It's the same. So that's why, really on twofold, that's why there is starvation, there is greed, there will always be greed. But this is why we must always maintain the teaching of, what we call the 10 Commandments, the yamas and niyamas. In this world we must teach our children well these values. We must teach people to care for each other. Otherwise all these values are going away. It's worse than it should be at the moment. But it's also best because a lot of positive is coming out of it. You really, it's only when you go through the darkest dark that you can see the brightest light. This is when it's really dark. Any of you been to Sierra Nevada, up in the mountains, when it's so dark and you look up and you see millions of stars, millions of stars. But if you see it from here, you won't see so many. The night has to be so dark for the stars to shine so bright. So many times we have to go through the dark to see the light. And this is what all creation is about as well. First it was all dark, and then there was light. And then the light overtook the darkness. And that's what we're doing by spiritual studies. It's just so that we can transcend the darkness. And we need to learn to stay in the light that's within us. We need to learn to maintain. How do you stay in the love? The question that was asked, how do you stay in the love is how do you stay in the light? Ultimately we're all light. Because when our body dies, what leaves it? The soul. What is the soul? It's light. It's light. It's light. There's no more body keeping it in, is there? There's no more body keeping that soul in. You can fly high. Say, good morning, everybody. Why did I get so upset about all those things? It's just like a flicker. It just goes. Your life, it goes so quick. You know, anytime you get disturbed, think it's going so quick. Remember when you were a child. Remember when you were a teenager. Oh, I wish I was 18 so I could be independent. And then I wish I had the best relationship in the world. And then you go, oh my God, everything's disillusion, disillusion, disillusion. But it isn't really disillusion. It's really showing us, hey, this is part of the world you're living in. This is the university. Are you going to pass it? Are you going to fail it? You pass it, you watch it. Ah, part of my learning. Anybody been to university? You know there are some nights you have to cram all night. Drink coffee after coffee. I mean, I did that at university. You work really hard to pass. And this is with meditate, or this is with the spirit too. We have to work really hard to see the spirit. Or experience is more the word, experience our spirit. We have to work really hard, stay up many nights. I've stayed up many nights. Just awake, because why nights? Because it's so quiet. There's nothing but you and your mind. You and your mind, and you can really watch. You are not your mind. Are you your mind? You're not your mind. But you can feel something from your heart. You can feel something here. So awaken that. That's the highest spiritual practice. You can really awaken that love in your heart. And then see it in her, and see it in her, and see it in her, and see it in her. And if you can't see it, think of a newborn baby. I always say, think of a newborn baby. What can that child do? It's so beautiful, so gorgeous. And saying that, we have one coming up with Carrie. A new yoga rashta coming up. A baby being conceived right there. How about 3 months now? Huh?
16 weeks.
16 weeks. So it's exciting. You know, the new, what for? I really can't answer that. All I know is when I ask people, would you rather be dead? Would you rather zero experience? And nobody can say they rather zero experience. Even the person who wants to commit suicide doesn't prefer zero experience when I ask them that question. Because there's some experiences in your life that are so beautiful too. And you wouldn't miss them for the world. I wouldn't. I wouldn't miss some of the beautiful times I've had, would you? That experience, that joy. And without a body you cannot. That's why we were given our senses, to use it in the best way. Perfection in action is yoga, to use them to love, to care, to balance. But what do? Greed, I want, I this, I have to have, and desire, and desire, and desire. So we don't treat our senses right. That's why we're so miserable. But if we can treat them with respect, just look at good things. You know the 3 monkeys? I have them in my balcony. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Then you step aside from the rest of the world. Okay? You step aside. You're not judging. You know it exists. You're not idealistic and saying it doesn't exist. But you are stepping back by restraining your senses. So if you see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, what are you left with inside? Only love. Only love. So you need to control these senses and feel the love within. Because it's them that telling you, this person was so bad, or did you hear this one said that? And then the words come from your mouth that are bitter and horrible. Why do you want to do that to you? And then you say those horrible words and you don't even like yourself anymore. You really don't. You just don't like yourself because we're not made like that. And on that note, I'll finish. I think I answered all the questions. Yes, I did. How does love heal? In all those ways. In all those ways. apply love as a medicine. Just start applying love as a, do that. Would you do this for this week's practice? I really like you to do this. If you see anything that needs love, your plants, they're dying a little, I love you, your home, your partner, yeah, like that, you just did that, she just did it. She went and hugged his knee. Did you see that? Just apply love. And then he put his arm on it, his hand on it, her arm. This morning they were doing the spinal twist lying down there to put their arms. Did you see them? Both holding on to each other. Apply love all the time. That's what you do with everything. Yoga is not separation. It's unity. Do not separate spiritual practice from your life. This is a fallacy. Spiritual practice is how you live. Put love. You heard, I didn't say it. Upanishad said it. Put love into everything you do. Everything. You're going to watch TV? Enjoy it. Lord, I'm watching for you. You bathe yourself. I'm bathing the Lord's body. I'm brushing the Lord's teeth. And you start doing that. I'm cleaning the Lord's house. You're not doing it for you, you're doing it for the Lord. And then soon you'll say everybody is the Lord. That's what Mother Teresa did, didn't she? She saw everybody as Lord Jesus. Because that was the practice. What did Gurudev do? The same practice. What did Master Shivananda do? The same practice. What did all the masters do? The same practice. Everything is the Lord. Everything is divine. Everything. This is just a play. You're divine. I'm divine. We came from the same lot. What's the difference? We're all going to die in a coffin, a wooden box. Am I better than you? You've got to be kidding. Any teacher who tells you that is telling you a lie. How can I be better than you? I'm made of the same stuff as you. It's only the mind that can think that. We're all the same. We're all souls in a body. Yes, we have different times to realize. But that's okay. People have different standards in schools. Children have different ages. It's no big deal. It doesn't make one better or one worse. We're all identical. Inside of us, we're all light. And then you keep talking to yourself, explaining these things to yourself, and then feeling it, you know? And then when you're angry with someone, so angry, superimpose the face with somebody you love, okay? You see somebody really angry with them, see something you love in front of them. I used to apply Gurudev's face, like, you know, think I Photoshop in my brain. You know, somebody screams at me, put Gurudev's face. I just put the face. Somebody who loved Lord Jesus screaming at me. I got a lot of insults from the Catholic Church in my early days of practice. I would see Lord Jesus on their face. Lord Jesus is screaming at me. Okay, I accept. And that's how I think in my mind. Just superimpose. And then when my granddaughter was born, because for me she was goddess, you know, watching a grandchild being born is such a wonderful feeling of God's creation. And then I did that with everybody. You know, everybody is God's creation. They were all babies at one time. There was a mother that felt that, and a father that felt that love. They were all babies. So what I'm feeling, it's everybody is feeling. We just forget. And then you start to practice like that with your mind. You have no time to gossip about anybody in there. You have no time to judge anybody in there because you're too busy working on you. Okay, got it? Got the practice? Will you do it this week? Really practice. And don't worry if you go wrong. Don't worry. I told you it took me so many years. Take your time. Love yourself. Are you human?
Yes.
Do you make mistakes?
Yes.
Ah, thank God we all make mistakes. We're human. So forgive yourself quickly and get up. And on that note, we'll finish and let you all go home. So, if you just close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath. Exhale. Please, with your eyes closed, reach out to anybody who's as close to you and just hold their hand. Don't be embarrassed, just hold their hand. And if you need to move a little, move a little. He's gone. Yeah, just hold their hand. And just taking a deep breath again. And as you breathe out, imagine the energy from the palms of your hands being passed on to all of them, to the person next to you, wishing them goodness, kindness, a lot of love in their life. And say in your mind, may you be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May you find the joy within. May you see the light within. Wish the person next to you all those wonderful things. And bless the children that are outside laughing with their lovely voices. And bless everyone in this room. And bless everyone on this street. And bless everyone in this country. And bless everyone in this world. And just see millions of figures ahead of you and just say, we all come from one earth. We all come from one earth. We all came into this earth for a reason. Bless it, bless it, bless it. May we live in this light. May we join in this unconditional love of the divine. May we remember every day, that we are creatures of kindness and love. May we never forget this, Lord. May we never forget this. And may we work in the world in love. And now we release the hands and then put them in the prayer position. Feel the energy that love creates, the warmth in your palms and your hands. Giving love creates back to you to heal all the cells within, to heal your body, to heal your mind. And now please fill your heart with your families, good or bad, bless them all. Fill your heart with your enemies, bless them all. Jai Shri Sadguru.